the Red Hot Chili Peppers were formed in Los Angeles in 1982. Their first performance was on December 16, 1982, at the Grandia Room Club on Hollywood Boulevard. In March 1983, they changed their name to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. In November 1983, manager Lindy Getz struck a 7-album deal with EMI America and Enigma Records. 2 weeks earlier, however, What Is This? Had also obtained a record deal with MCA, and in December Slovak and Irons quit the Red Hot Chili Peppers to focus on What Is This? Flea and Kiedis recruited Weirdo drummer Cliff Martinez and guitarist Jack Sherman. The band released their debut album, The Red Hot Chili Peppers, in August 1984. The album included backing vocals by Gwen Dickey, the singer for the 1970s disco-funk group Rolls Royce. The band embarked on a grueling tour, performing 60 shows in 64 days. During the tour, continuing musical and lifestyle tension between Kiedis and Sherman complicated the transition between concert and daily band life. Sherman was fired in February 1985. Slovak, who had just quit What Is This?, rejoined in early 1985. The Red Hot Chili Peppers' second album, Freaky Styley, was produced by funk musician George Clinton. The album featured Maceo Parker and Fred Wesley. The band used heroin while recording the album, which influenced the lyrics and music. Despite the lack of success, the band was satisfied with Freaky Styley. In early 1986, EMI gave the Chili Peppers $5,000 to record a demo tape for their next album. They chose to work with producer Keith Levine from PiL, as he shared their interest in drugs. Due to his addiction, Kiedis didn't have the same drive or desire to come up with ideas or lyrics, and appeared at rehearsal, literally asleep. The band's third album, The Uplift Mofo Party Plan, was released in September 1987 and peaked at number 148 on the Billboard 200 chart, a significant improvement over their earlier albums. The band immediately embarked on a 2.5-month North American tour to promote the release, accompanied by Faith No More's support, who were also promoting their new album Introduce Yourself. During this period, however, Kiedis and Slovak had both developed serious drug addictions, often disappearing for days on end. Slovak died from a heroin overdose on June 25, 1988, soon after the conclusion of the Uplift tour. Irons, troubled by the death, left the band. Following years of depression, he became a member of the Seattle grunge band Pearl Jam in 1994. The band hired Dwayne Blackbird McKnight as guitarist and D.H. Peligro as drummer, but McKnight was fired after just 3 dates for lack of chemistry with the band. Peligro was also fired in 1988 due to his drug and alcohol problems. The band eventually hired guitarist John Frusciante and drummer Chad Smith, and began work on their fourth album, Mother's Milk. The album was released in 1989 and was a commercial success, reaching number 52 on the U.S. Billboard 200. After the success of their album Mother's Milk, the Red Hot Chili Peppers left EMI and signed with Warner Brothers Records. They hired producer Rick Rubin, who had previously turned them down due to their drug problems. The writing process for their new album, Blood Sugar Sex Magik, was more productive than it had been for Mother's Milk, and the album was a commercial success. It sold over 12 million copies and was listed at number 310 on Rolling Stone's list of 500 greatest albums of all time. The band began their Blood Sugar Sex Magik tour, which featured Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and Smashing Pumpkins as opening acts. Guitarist John Frusciante was struggling with fame and developed a heroin addiction. He quit the band after a show in Tokyo in May 1992. The Chili Peppers hired guitarist Eric Marshall, but he was too busy to attend rehearsals and was dismissed. They then hired guitarist Jesse Tobias, but he was also dismissed due to poor chemistry. Dave Navarro, who had just split from Jane's Addiction, joined the band in August 1993. The Chili Peppers released the non-album single, Soul to Squeeze, which topped the Billboard U.S. Modern Rock chart. The Red Hot Chili Peppers' relationship with guitarist Dave Navarro began to deteriorate after their performance at Woodstock, '94. Navarro admitted that he did not care for funk music or jamming, and Kiedis had relapsed into heroin addiction. Without Frusciante, the band wrote songs at a far slower rate. Kiedis said that Navarro was not the same as Frusciante when it came to songwriting. The band's album, One Hot Minute, was released in September 1995 and departed from their previous sound. It was a darker, sadder record, and Kiedis's lyrics addressed drugs, broken relationships, and deaths of loved ones. The album sold 8 million copies worldwide and produced the band's third #1 single, My Friends. The band began touring for One Hot Minute in Europe in 1995. The US tour was postponed after Smith broke his wrist, and several shows were cancelled in 1997 due to deteriorating band relations, injuries, and Navarro and Kiedis's drug use. In April 1998, the Chili Peppers announced that Navarro had left due to creative differences. Kiedis said the decision was mutual, but reports at the time indicated that Navarro's departure came after he attended a band practice under the influence of drugs. The Red Hot Chili Peppers were on the verge of breaking up after guitarist John Frusciante left the band in 1992. Frusciante struggled with heroin addiction in the years following his departure, but he eventually entered rehab and rejoined the band in 1998. The band's next album, Californication, was a commercial success, selling over 16 million copies and producing 3 #1 modern rock hits. The Red Hot Chili Peppers began writing their next album in 2001. For Kiedis, it was a whole different experience from the previous album, Californication. The recording was difficult for Flea, who felt his role was being diminished and fought with Frusciante about the musical direction. The album, by the way, was released in July 2002 and produced 4 singles. It was their most subdued to date, focusing on melodic ballads over rap and funk, with layered textures, more keyboards, and string arrangements. The album was followed by an 18-month world tour, a concert DVD, and the band's first live album. In November 2003, the Chili Peppers released their greatest hits album, which featured new songs, Fortune Faded, and Save the Population. The Red Hot Chili Peppers' 9th album, Stadium Arcadium, was released in 2006. It was their first album to debut at #1 on the US charts and sold over 7 million units. The album won 5 Grammys. The first single, Donny California, was the band's fastest-selling single, reaching #1 on the modern rock chart in the US, peaking at #6 on the Billboard Hot 100, and reaching #2 in the UK. Tell Me Baby, released next, also topped the charts in 2006. Snow, Hey Oh, was released in late 2006, breaking multiple records by 2007. The song became their 11th #1 single, giving the band a cumulative total of 81 weeks at #1. It was also the first time 3 consecutive singles by the band made it to #1. Desecration Smile was released internationally in February 2007 and reached #27 on the UK charts. Hump Da Bump was planned to be the next single for the US, Canada, and Australia only, but due to positive feedback from the music video, it was released as a worldwide single in May 2007. The Stadium Arcadium World Tour began in 2006, including several festival dates. Frusciante's friend and frequent musical collaborator Josh Klinghoffer joined the touring band, contributing guitar, backing vocals, and keyboards. Following the Stadium Arcadium tour, the Red Hot Chili Peppers took an extended break. This was due to the band being worn out after years of non-stop work. During this time, Kiedis became a father and focused on taking care of his son, while Flea took music theory classes and Frusciante released a solo album. In July 2009, Frusciante left the Chili Peppers again, and in October 2009, the band entered the studio to begin writing their 10th studio album, with Josh Klinghoffer replacing Frusciante on guitar. The Red Hot Chili Peppers' 10th album, I'm With You, was recorded between September 2010 and March 2011. It was released in the US in August 2011 and topped the charts in 18 countries. The album received mostly positive reviews and included the band's 12th #1 single, The Adventures of Rain Dance Maggie. The Chili Peppers toured extensively to promote the album, including their first shows in Alaska, Paraguay, the Philippines, and Puerto Rico. In February 2014, the band joined Bruno Mars as performers at the Super Bowl 48 halftime show. The performance was met with mixed reviews for its use of backing music, but the band defended their decision, saying it was an NFL rule for bands to pre-record music due to time and technical issues. The Red Hot Chili Peppers released their 11th album, The Getaway, in June 2016. The album was produced by Danger Mouse and was the band's first without producer Rick Rubin since 1989. The Getaway debuted at #2 on the Billboard 200 chart and outsold Drake in its opening week with album sales of 108,000 to 33,000. The band began the headlining portion of the Getaway World Tour in September 2016 with the North American leg, featuring Jack Irons, the band's original drummer, as an opening act. The tour concluded in October 2017 and consisted of 151 shows lasting a year and almost 5 months. In December, the band headlined the Band Together 2 benefit concert at the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium in San Francisco. Money raised from the concert went to the Tipping Point Emergency Relief Fund, which between 2005 and 2017 raised $150 million to educate, employ, house and support those in need in the Bay Area. The Red Hot Chili Peppers' recording of their next album was delayed due to the Woolsey fire in 2018. In February 2019, they performed with rapper Post Malone at the Grammy Awards. In March, they performed in Egypt, becoming one of the few acts allowed to perform at the Pyramids of Giza. In December 2019, the Chili Peppers announced that they had parted ways with guitarist Josh Klinghoffer and that John Frusciante had rejoined the band. Frusciante performed with the Chili Peppers for the first time in 13 years in February 2020. In August 2020, former Chili Peppers guitarist Jack Sherman died aged 64. In April 2021, the Chili Peppers announced that they had left their management company Q Prime and would now be managed by their longtime friend Guy Oseary. In May 2021, it was reported that the Red Hot Chili Peppers would sell their back catalog to Hipgnosis Songs Fund for $140 to $150 million. On March 31, the Chili Peppers received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The Red Hot Chili Peppers' 12th album, Unlimited Love, was released on April 1, 2022. It debuted at number 1 in 10 countries and was promoted with the singles, Black Summer, and These Are the Ways. NME wrote that Unlimited Love shared the melancholic riff-making, anthemic choruses and softly sung melodies of Frusciante's previous work with the Chili Peppers, but introduced new, grungy, and acoustic elements. The 13th Chili Peppers album, Return of the Dream Canteen, was released on October 14 and was recorded during the same sessions as Unlimited Love. The first single, Tip of My Tongue, was released in August, followed by The Drummer in October. The former Chili Peppers drummer D.H. Peligro died at the age of 63 on October 28, 2022.